Oh my god, they're adding Jason to the game! Oh man, I can't wait to loop the killer and stun the killer and loop again and complain about getting tunneled out of the game because I'm really sharing the game and loop again for good measure. You know, maybe he was right. Look, I liked, keyword liked, playing Dead by Daylight back then. Especially with my friends, it was a heck of a time. Just a quick one before the video starts. While I was editing this actually, Jason's power and Mori just got revealed and I'll just show it on screen right here. It actually looks pretty promising. Nothing groundbreaking, but the whole new mechanic of sticking survivors to objects and his fog ability is actually really unique, and it's kind of what I wanted when I thought Jason. So just a little disclaimer there. Perhaps maybe DBD hasn't failed it, but this is a good step in the right direction. But the point of DBD is that it's a horror multiplayer game, and well, after playing during the FNAF chapter, I think that game has lost its identity slowly. And now it's more evident than ever. I mean, just look at these videos of people hating about the game. Like, if you were to tell me to play this game now and come out frightened, I'd rather throw myself in a vat of electric eels whilst having 500 volts being shot through me. Alongside multiple bugs, glitches, and failed streaming events, this begs the question, has Dead by Daylight fallen off? Currently the state of DBD as I see it, is that it is a competitive slop, and complaining about a progression bar having little arrows. No, I did not make that one up, someone actually did complain about that. DBD as a whole is supposed to be a horror gore multiplayer based game, with a killer and 4 survivors. I mean, it's literally rated M. This is basically what many old school horror films did back in the day with their plot, and so a game like that is pretty cool. What isn't cool is getting about 50 skins that have like barely any clothes on them and no graphical update, and then complaining about the game being survivor-sided. No, Sable, you're just shit at the game. The whole horror of DBD probably peaked during the earlier chapters, specifically when your boy Myers got added to the game. This guy was DBD's first license and everyone knows the tale of him, but Myers is a stealth killer. And what do stealth killers thrive in? DBD used to be a very dark and gloomy and misty game back then, which I believe is probably what made it stand out to an extent. Simple gameplay, simple art style. The atmosphere as usual was creepy and eerie, and terrible graphics complemented that at the time. Another thing was the objective of the game, surviving. Now let's push all the perks and killer balance changes and all that jazz to the side. This is what amplified the horror. You're worried about playing the game because you're always certain the killer will always get you. And that's something that modern DBD has kind of thrown out the window, with all these second chance perks and whatnot. Moving on to the present day, and well, the atmosphere is kind of bland. I mean, yeah, sure, it's kind of cool, not really much. And it doesn't really scream any horror in the slightest. Most of the time it's just the same map painted over. I mean, just look at the FNAF one, that was a complete epiphany. Now I do get that DBD has always been in need of a graphical update, and the reason for that is because of, well, whatever this is. But at least try and simulate some horror aspects, which leads me on to my next point. Due to Nick Cage being a survivor for some reason, the devs can't actually remove limbs or like do anything with the survivors like mutate them. And as a result, they have to either shrink the body part or move it somewhere else completely. And yeah, it's choppy and it doesn't look great. Though I mean, is murder really supposed to be great? Point being is that half the Moris are just pools of low textured blood, which again doesn't really help with the whole M for gore tag. Now I get that you can't actually solve this without removing the real life survivors or negotiating limb chopping, but at the very least, get a graphical update somehow! I'll be honest, this side just sucks, like, point blank. But I understand the more that you play a game, the better you will get at it. Gamer's Law 101 or something. But the devs have just taken this up the wrong end and straight up just devoured every ounce of hope this game had. Firstly, DBD tried having an esports, which I mean worked well as it sounds. And secondly, as a result, many killers and perks have been considered broken in the past years, such as Dead Hard, Kaneki, Noed, you know, all that jazz. I'm not saying we need to remove every single perk and rework the whole game, but I kinda am at the same time. But one thing is certain. Ever since the FNAF chapter, this is where I believe the game took a nosedive down the hill. Springtrap was received very mixed at first, and for good reason. His design was fine, no complaints there. The ability to teleport and have a fire axe, which he has never actually used in the actual lore of the game, except in a fan-made song years ago. And this is the main issue I have with the horror aspect of the game, the lack of killer powers. It's always either just a dash, status, get hit, restock, stash, dash. And why play Xenomorph when Springtrap can do the same thing with no counterplay? Or why play Wesker when Kaneki can just fly across the map? Do you see my point? Too many killers just have the same power. And this is like a tale as old as time. People complain about this all the time. It's just a reskin at the end of the day. Probably the best example for this, though, was Myers. Myers genuinely back then, if you were to go up against a lore accurate one, could have been the scariest killer just by base, because he just stalks you, and that's kind of what he does, and that's what made him fun to go against, unless, I mean, he brought Tombstone, but that's the story for another day. But Behavior decided, you know what, if it ain't broke, let's ruin him completely, and decided to give Myers a dash ability, which is exactly what he did in the movie, so you know I have no complaints there. The point being is that it makes no sense whatsoever to change that. The only reason they did that was to make him useful, quotation marks. But he already was, because of how unique he was. The only killer to actually have that kind of reciprocation when it comes to stalking is Ghostface, and his power is pretty useful and fun to play with. Those two killers were probably the only killers I actually used to get scared of randomly whenever they pop out in the middle of nowhere. Nowadays, you can hear the killer coming from a mile away. Yes, I get terror radius as a thing. Myers sometimes didn't have that in his tier 1, so that was kind of the exhilarating part of it. But this doesn't mean that all killers suck. The Unknown was probably the best addition when it comes to non-licensed chapters. A somewhat interesting power and a creepy look, and the promotional material is actually pretty up there. That's horror. That's what scares people. That's what the game should be. I overall wanted to make this video because of the recent news of Jason going to be added to the game, and I do think he's a good fit for the game. But currently, as of right now, he wouldn't. Simply because, well, he might just have a recycled power of some sorts. And people did say that Pennywise or Slenderman was going to be added to the game, and both of those also potentially suffer the same problem. Maybe not Slenderman, considering he's already pretty eerie to begin with, and I can think of like a couple bajillion ideas for his powers. But yeah, and that pretty much sums up what I have to say about why Dead by Daylight could be falling off. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.